Hello. Today on DIY with Chris. Hey out there, we've seen some recent pallet projects that involve taking a pallet and cutting it down 4 different times to make bookshelves. So we have a really rough drawing of it right here. It has the approximate measurements of all of it. So it's going to be approximately 40 inches wide, 4 inches in depth, and right around 9 inches in height. And what we're going to do there is when we make the cuts, this would be the bottom of our bookshelf and it will be cut right in between. And so we can make 2 different cuts there and then 1 more in the middle, and that's going to give us 4 different bookshelves from this one pallet. Then we just have to sand it down and make it nice. We can paint over it or put some lacquer on it or something just to make sure that we seal it up and make it match the room. So we have seen this project that's been floating around Pinterest and Facebook and some other places, but I haven't really seen any videos on it. So we decided we would try it out and give you that video tutorial, the how-to steps on how to do this. So stay tuned if you want to see. Some of the basic tools we're going to be using for this project are going to be the ones here behind us. So first off, we're going to have our circular saw. Our circular saw is going to be used to make nice clean cuts. Again, what I'm looking to do is make a nice clean cut right here in the middle. That's going to give me a bottom bookshelf and then set me up for my next cut. I'll do 1 more cut in the very middle and then 1 more right in between the next set. And that's going to give me 4 different bookshelves. So this is the choice tool I'm going to be using to make those larger, cleaner cuts. I'm also going to have my drill right here. The drill I'm going to use that to be putting on our bottoms. I'll be using this plywood, cut it to sections, and I'm going to use that as much as possible for the bottoms of these. It's going to be a nice clean wood. And it's going to be something strong just for it on the bottom. Then I'll just drive up the screws and or nails into the main frame and make that a little bit more sturdy that way. We will be using sanders quite a bit during this project. I have 2. This one is just my orbital sander, and then we also have the Black & Decker mouse sander that's going to be used for a lot more detail sanding, getting in the edges and everything. This is some pretty rough wood right now. It's just going to take a lot of sanding to get it down to the specs that I'm going to want to hang this in my living room. We're also going to be using this jigsaw. If you can see on the ends, the center supports and the edge supports that are going down actually protrude out from the pallet boards a ways, so I'm going to use this jigsaw to trim those up and then make it flush so I can put the bottom of my bookshelves on there. Those are the main tools that we're going to be using for this. The supplies that we need for this project are going to be any screws or nails that you're going to use to assemble it. Most of them are already in here, so it'll be whatever you're going to be using to apply the bottom to your project. We can use either scrap wood, which is what I'm using right now, so I have some leftover 3/4 inch plywood that I'm going to use for my bottom, or we can use some other crepe planks there to cover the bottom, or any other various woods. That's up to you and how you want it to look. Depending on where you want to put this project, you may want to invest in either some stain, lacquer, or paint. And then you can do other details on here as needed to make sure that it matches the rest of your home. The first step that we're going to take is to measure out our bookshelves and determine where to make our first cuts. For this, we're going to measure from the bottom or from the edges. What we do want to keep in mind is I'm going to be using my circular saw here. So I want to measure our first cut is going to be right here in the middle of this board. Being that this board does have nails in it, I'm going to try and measure it so that our cut will be done right in between the nails and we won't have to worry about hurting our blade. Looks like our first cut, it should work, will be 9 3/4 inches. So we'll line it up. And draw out our line. And we'll continue to do that on all the following pieces. Now that we've made our initial cut with the circular saw, we still just have a little bit of board left. We're going to finish it off using our jigsaw. So we put in a wood blade and we're going to finish cutting that. And we're also going to make our cuts for the bottoms of our next bookshelves in. We now have each of our pieces cut. So we do have, this is going to be one of our bookshelves, as was illustrated in the drawing. So we're still going to need to sand this down and then do any finishing touches like paint, lacquer, stain on it. And then we also need to apply the bottom. So again, I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch plywood on the bottom. After I trim up these center and edge posts, then we'll put it right on the bottom to make it flush. And nail or screw it in depending on which is going to be better. And you can see our other one right here. So we have two that are successfully already cut off of the piece. And then it's still sitting on the center right now. So on the center we have our outside edges cut on both sides. All we have to do now is make the cut on the center support. And then this will be cut to the exact same as those dimensions as well. The next step for our projects, now that we have it cut, is just going to be to sand it down. We're going to use the pencil trick to do this, so we've already went over a portion of this and drawn our pencil lines, and we're going to make sure that as we sand each layer of this down, we completely remove the pencil. We cut a piece to size out of our 3/4 inch plywood, so we're going to attach that to the bottom. We're going to be using screws for this, so I'm going to go ahead and drill our pilot holes and then start installing the screws. Okay, so we just finished putting on our bottom after we finished sanding it, and this is really all that we have left. We can sand down and remove, make sure that it's all nice and smooth and fresh, and take off this tag here on the bottom. Our last steps, the last steps you really have at this point are just to make it look as though you want it in your home. So you can apply that lacquer, the stain, or some paint. It just depends on how you want to customize it. Other than that, all you have to do is put the books in now.
DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.
DIY with Chris, giving you the tools to do it yourself.